So there are in our world games of status and games of cash money. And I often have to talk to authors about the two different games that are being played. And this goes not just for authors, but for anyone who's inside of an organization and they want to rise up the ranks. Okay, so in book publishing, independent publishing is a focus on cash money. The conversation is about return on investment. I regularly have conversations with authors where we point out, okay, if you are going to work with an experienced ghostwriter, you're probably going to be spending between 100 and 150,000 US dollars on that. So what does ROI look like? This is the conversation I have with an independently published author or someone who aspires to be independently published and control everything in the situation. So what that means is, okay, you're going to get between $3 and $10 per copy sold. So depending on how large your audience is, you're going to and how engaged they are with you, between 0.5% and 2.5% of them are going to buy. So say you have 100,000 followers. Okay, that means between 500 and 2,500 of them are going to buy your book. Let's just pick an even 1,000, 1% conversion from audience to book buyers. And let's take the average and say it's $5 a copy sold. You just made 5K. And that 5K of those book sales, those 1,000 books sales, that's estimated over an 18-month period. Okay. So that means your 100,000 followers, maybe 6 months before the book comes out during your crazy pre-order campaign, and then the year after, or maybe you just simply announce the book is coming out next week and you promote the dang thing for 18 months to your audience. 1,000 people in your audience over the next 18 months are going to buy. And again, we're doing conservatives, we're doing estimates. This is how you need to think about cash money games versus status games, which are altogether different. So in the cash money game, you're thinking, okay, so I'm going to sell 1,000 copies. Maybe. What can I upsell them inside the book itself that maybe 10% of them are going to buy? Okay, so let's say you have a $500 course. 10% of them maybe buy that. Okay, so you've sold 100 times 500. That's better. That's better. We're still not quite at the full ROI yet. Now, you have a $50,000 services package that you sell. Of the 100 who bought the course, 5 of them, so 5% of the 100 who bought the course, buy your $50,000 services package, going from book, course, done for you services. That's not bad. That's not bad. So the fewer you are selling at each stage, the more you are earning. This is how you need to think about cash money games. This is how independent authors think. And this is over approximately 18 months. Now, these numbers are going to be higher, they're going to be lower, they're going to shift from situation to situation. If you have a more engaged audience who likes to buy stuff that you already produced, maybe master classes, or you have like a small community membership that you sell membership to, okay, this is good. This is good. You're going to likely sell more copies and you're going to likely make more money from cross sells and upsells that would not have happened without the book. And that's key, because when you have a book, you condense all of your value into an immense and dense physical product. It is the symbol of your credibility. It is the ultimate demonstration of authority. There is no marketing tactic, strategy, or campaign, advertisement, or PR campaign or push that does what a physical book does. And a book can last you 10, 15, 20 years for your personal brand and for your reputation. To this day, to understand President Donald J. Trump, people read a book that came out almost 40 years ago, his The Art of the Deal. If you can get 40 years out of a book, I think you're doing it right. And of course, that book was ghostwritten. Coming back to you, this is how you need to think about cash money games. There are, however, status games that are being played around you as well. Status games like traditional publishing. When you put together your book proposal, which is what you have to do when you're trying to get a literary agent and or a book publishing deal via an acquisitions editor, They don't necessarily care about manuscript quality or the content itself. They want audience size because they're looking at the same numbers that I'm giving you now. They're thinking 0.5 to 2.5% during that 18-month swing. Okay, so we want to give you 6 months of pre-publication promotion time, because when all book sales numbers are reported to Nielsen Bookscan, which then reports to Publishers Weekly, USA Today, the New York Times, bestseller lists, all pre-orders are sent the first week, along with publication day and week sales. And most records go through Thursday, and most traditionally published books are released on Tuesday. So you have Tuesday, Wednesday, and often half of Thursday to sell copies, to move books. So that's the first week of sales. Depending on the week or the month that you release the book, you need to sell, let's just be blunt, minimum 2,500 copies from pre-orders, and first week sales, 2.5 days, on up to tens of thousands of copies if you want to be on the New York Times bestseller list. Because remember, it changes. It's based on who is competing with you. Kind of like the Amazon bestseller list and Amazon Top Reads, which is Amazon's equivalent to the New York Times bestseller list. I've had several authors who are independently published on Amazon Top Reads. Now, independently published authors do not have access to the same reporting tools that traditionally published authors do. So it's a status game, not a cash money game. Status games make sense for you if you are looking to invest fully in your name, your recognition, your personal brand credibility, your status, and you're not necessarily looking to make back money on the venture of the book itself, but you're willing to lose as much money as it takes to buy status. It is truly a pay-to-play experience, but it's not a get paid back experience when you're playing a status game. It's kind of like how there are firms in major cities, think A-list cities, where it's extraordinarily expensive to live in that city, but you don't get paid as an intern. Or there are now internships where you have to pay to get the internship. So you're paying for the on-the-job training via the internship, with the possibility of working for that firm or one similar getting a job offer. So it is a status game. Who can last long enough losing the most money? That is a status game. Who's willing to spend the most money to lose the most? That's a status game. That's how donations work. Donors. This is names on buildings. Look how much money I was willing to lose to put my name on this building. Do you think that having a research hospital named after you, for example, or a new department at a college, what is the ROI of that from a cash money game perspective? It's a silly question. It's a silly question. What is the ROI of being on the New York Times bestseller list? Extraordinarily negative for most authors. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in the hole to get there. So what are you going to do with that status? Well, some people are going to attempt to go from playing the status game to playing a cash money game with that status. So the status can come, and then they will attempt to roll that over in time, but it's a much longer time frame. Again, who can afford to spend the most money for the longest and receive no return for it the longest? That's how you play a status game. Because often it requires a lot of cash money up front to be able to do that. It's kind of like how there are restaurants where you have to be a member in order to get into the restaurant, which means you have to pay $1,000 a year, $2,000, $4,000, $10,000 a year in order to get in and spend more money. It's like a country club versus public golf course. Country club, you have to be a member of the country club in order to play golf there. And depending on the way the billing and membership structure works, you might have to actually pay for that round of golf or any of the other services or products that you use, goods and experiences that you use while there. But the type of people that you meet along the way might make it worthwhile. So before you think I want to be independently published. I want to control all of this. I want to make back everything I put into this and then some within a few years. I'll give you an example. This is Stay Off My Operating Table. I worked with Dr. Philip Ovadia on every single thing of this. The cover, the typesetting, turning some previous content he had into a book, meeting with him while he was in the airport, going to and from emergency surgeries and whatnot. This is a complete Joshua Lisec production. And he's happy to say Joshua Lisec is my ghostwriter. Look at what he did for my book, my brand, my clinic. He had about 1,200 followers when we began working together, total on social media. He's exploded in growth. He's now the #1 most followed heart surgeon on social media. Amazon markets his book for him. He sells books every single day without doing anything because he's already sold so many books previously. He's a perennial #1 bestseller in all the relevant categories on Amazon. He's just passed 45,000 copies sold doing this. So from an independent perspective, this has been an extraordinarily smart investment, cash money perspective. Now, the commercial success has granted him some status as well. So winning, just absolutely blowing out the competition when you play a cash money game can transition into playing a status game. So you see how it works both ways. Now, by the way, this book sends readers to one of his courses and to his email list and to his clinic. So a reader becomes a course buyer and a masterclass member and a community member and a coaching client and then a client of his private practice and so on and so forth, right? So a single transaction of buying a book for $25.99 can explode into incredible return on investment for Dr. Philip Ovadia and his practice. Another book I want to tell you about is Reframe Your Brain with Scott Adams. I also did this with Scott. At the very beginning, it's at the very end. I'll show you real quick. The very end. Thank you to Joshua Lisec. Oh, that's cool. Way to start the acknowledgments here. We have an advertisement for Scott's. Yep, there it is. More content from Scott Adams. This is the cross sell. So we tell you how to support him in his work by subscribing at big bold letters scottadams.locals.com, which is his membership community. This is cash money. This is the cash money perspective. Now, this book right here, Unhumans, by me and Jack Posobiec, this is a New York Times bestseller. There's one of two that is. The other one being this one right here. Both of these traditionally published. This by Ben Bella Books. This by Skyhorse Publishing. So I'm a co-author of this one and credited as an equal author on Unhumans. Both of them traditionally published. Both of them New York Times bestsellers. Both of them status games. Both of them required a lot of upfront investment. A lot. Now, so does an independently published author. But have we made back everything we put into Unhumans or into Lies I Taught in Medical School by Robert Lufkin and Joshua Lisec? When you know what kind of game you're playing, you can play to win. There are cash money games and status games being played, and winning one enables you to play the other. I want you to understand that. Winning one enables you to play the other. And if you haven't been able to transition from one to the next, that means you haven't won.